Cesar Milan, once known around the world as the dog whisperer, was seen collapsing in court after hearing his sentence. The moment shocked everyone in the room. Hearts are breaking across America tonight as devastating news emerges from a Los Angeles courthouse. Everybody knows him as the dog whisperer, so what do you actually think? You had this beloved dog behaviorist, Cesar Milan, known to millions as the dog whisperer, broke down in tears after being sentenced to life in prison following a controversial trial that has many questioning whether justice has truly been served. The man who rehabilitated countless untrainable dogs and rebuilt families torn apart by canine behavioral issues now faces spending the rest of his life behind bars. Separated from the animals he devoted his life to helping and the millions of people whose lives he touched through his compassionate work. For over 2 decades, Milan invited us into homes across America, showing families on the brink of giving up on their beloved pets that there was hope. That with patience, understanding, and proper guidance, even the most troubled dogs could be rehabilitated. His gentle way with animals, his reassuring smile, and his unwavering belief in second chances made him a trusted friend to dog lovers everywhere. My mother watched Cesar religiously, says Jennifer Anderson, 56, who attended every day of the trial in support of Milan. When Mom developed Alzheimer's, she forgot many things, but she always recognized Cesar. When his show came on, his calm voice soothed her, and watching him work with dogs brought her moments of clarity and joy during a very dark time. It breaks my heart to see him treated this way, after all the good he's done. The case against Milan began nearly a year ago when federal authorities launched an investigation into his training facilities following anonymous complaints about training methods. What started as a routine investigation spiraled into something much larger, when investigators claimed to have uncovered financial irregularities related to Milan's international operations and charitable foundation. Prosecutors alleged that Milan had been involved in a complex scheme involving the illegal importation of exotic animals for training demonstrations, tax evasion related to his international businesses, and misuse of charitable funds designated for rescue operations. They painted a picture of a celebrity who had leveraged his fame to operate above the law. The most serious charge, and the one that ultimately led to the life sentence, involved allegations that Milan's dog psychology center had inadvertently caused the death of several severely traumatized dogs through training methods that the prosecution characterized as inhumane and dangerous. Throughout the trial, Milan maintained his innocence, insisting that the deaths were the result of pre-existing health conditions in already traumatized animals that had been scheduled for euthanasia before his center agreed to take them as last resort cases. These were dogs no one else would touch, testified Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a veterinarian who worked with Milan's foundation. They had been severely abused, starved, used in fighting rings. Many had injuries and health issues that went untreated for years. Cesar was their last hope, and he took these cases knowing the risks because he couldn't bear to see any dog given up on without trying to help. Among the most emotional testimonies presented during the trial, and largely overlooked by mainstream media coverage, was the extraordinary account of how Cesar Milan literally saved the lives of an entire family during what began as a routine training session. Sarah Thompson, a 58-year-old elementary school teacher from Colorado, took the stand with tears streaming down her face as she recounted the events of October 2018, a day that started as a last-ditch attempt to save her daughter's troubled Rottweiler mix and ended with Milan saving her entire family from unimaginable tragedy. We had adopted Bear as a puppy for my daughter, Emma, when she was battling depression after losing her husband in a car accident, Thompson explained, her voice barely above a whisper. He became her emotional support, her reason to get up in the morning. But as he grew, he developed severe aggression towards strangers and other dogs. The family had consulted multiple trainers, veterinary behaviorists, and even considered medication, but Bear's unpredictable aggression continued to escalate. After he lunged at a delivery person, animal control issued a final warning: address the behavior, or the dog would be euthanized. Emma was devastated, Thompson continued. She had already lost her husband. The thought of losing Bear was unbearable. In desperation, she wrote to Cesar's show, never expecting a response. When his team called to say he would include them in an upcoming episode, it felt like a miracle. Milan arrived at their mountain home on a crisp autumn morning. What television viewers never saw, because the episode never aired, was how his acute observational skills extended far beyond dog behavior. He had been working with Bear for about an hour when he suddenly became very still, Thompson recalled. He asked my daughter in a casual way if she had been having headaches lately, if the house had been feeling unusually warm. Emma mentioned that yes, everyone had been getting headaches, but they assumed it was just stress over Bear's situation. Milan then asked if he could open some windows. As fresh air circulated through the house, he discreetly pulled Thompson aside. He told me he recognized the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, the slight confusion in our responses, the headaches, the flushed appearance of my grandchildren. Thompson explained, her voice breaking. He said Bear's aggression had worsened recently, not because of behavioral issues, but because dogs are highly sensitive to carbon monoxide, and he was trying to get the family out of the house while continuing to work with Bear to maintain the appearance of a normal training session. Milan quietly instructed a member of his crew to call emergency services. He then suggested the entire family and Bear continue their training session in the backyard, getting everyone safely outside. Within 20 minutes, fire trucks arrived. The technicians discovered a critical failure in their heating system that was leaking dangerous levels of carbon monoxide throughout the house. The fire chief told us later that the levels were life-threatening and that we likely wouldn't have survived another night in the house, Thompson said. When asked by the defense attorney how she knew it was Milan who had identified the danger, Thompson's answer was unequivocal. The paramedics asked who had recognized the symptoms, and Cesar simply said he had encountered it before in another home with a suddenly aggressive dog. He followed up with them for months afterward, not about Bear's training, but about their health and recovery. Bear, no longer affected by the poisonous gas, saw his aggressive behavior diminish significantly. With Milan's guidance, the remaining issues were addressed through proper training. Today, Bear works as a therapy dog at the school where Thompson teaches, helping children with reading difficulties and emotional challenges. Cesar Milan didn't just save our dog that day. He saved my daughter, my grandchildren, and me, Thompson concluded, looking directly at the jury. The man you're considering sending to prison for life recognized a deadly situation that multiple doctors had missed during regular checkups. He acted quietly, calmly, without drawing attention or seeking credit. That's the true measure of who Cesar Milan really is. Perhaps the most powerful moment in the trial came from Gloria Sanchez, a 62-year-old kindergarten teacher and mother of 3, who credits Milan with saving her son's life. Her testimony brought many in the courtroom to tears, including Milan himself. My son David was attacked by a neighbor's dog when he was 4 years old, she explained, her voice quavering with emotion. The trauma was so severe that he developed an intense phobia of all dogs. He couldn't go to the park, couldn't visit friends who had pets, couldn't even walk to school if there was a dog visible anywhere on the street. The phobia began affecting David's development, leading to social isolation and eventually severe anxiety and depression. By the time he reached his teens, traditional therapy had minimal impact, and the family was losing hope. We were watching Cesar's show one night, and something about his gentle way with fearful dogs caught David's attention, Sanchez continued. For the first time, he showed interest in understanding dogs rather than just fearing them. We reached out to Cesar's center, never expecting to actually meet him. To their surprise, Milan personally responded and invited them to his ranch. He spent an entire weekend working with David, gradually introducing him to balanced, calm dogs and teaching him to understand canine behavior. Cesar told my son something I'll never forget. He said, "Fear is not respect, and respect is not fear. Once you understand the difference, you'll never be afraid again," Sanchez recalled, wiping tears. He didn't charge us a penny. When we tried to pay, he said seeing David overcome his fear was payment enough. Today, David Sanchez works as a veterinary technician and volunteers with trauma therapy programs that use animals to help children overcome PTSD. He credits Milan with not just overcoming his fear, but finding his life's purpose. That's the real Cesar Milan, Gloria Sanchez concluded, looking directly at the jury. A man who changed my son's life forever, who gave countless hours of his time to help a child he'd never met, because that's who he is. Someone who helps when he can, however he can. Please don't take him away from all the families who still need him. The power of Cesar Milan's impact extends far beyond dog training, as evidenced by the testimony of Angela Martinez, a 54-year-old single mother whose voice trembled as she described how Milan had not only rehabilitated her family's aggressive German Shepherd but ultimately saved her son from a destructive path. "My son Miguel was 16 when our problems began," Martinez explained to the hushed courtroom. His father had abandoned us years earlier, and Miguel was angry at the world. He started skipping school, hanging out with a gang-affiliated crowd. Our once close relationship had dissolved into shouting matches and slammed doors. During this turbulent time, the family's German Shepherd Rex began mirroring Miguel's aggressive behavior, becoming increasingly territorial and frightening visitors. After Rex snapped at a neighbor's child, Animal control gave them an ultimatum: address the dog's behavior or surrender him for euthanasia. Through a stroke of luck, they learned that Milan would be conducting a weekend workshop in their city. Though they couldn't afford the ticket price, Miguel stood outside the venue for hours hoping to catch a glimpse of his new hero. What happened next shows the real character of the man you're considering sending to prison, Martinez told the jury. Her voice strengthening with conviction, Cesar spotted Miguel as he was leaving. Instead of just signing an autograph and moving on, he asked why Miguel wasn't inside. When my son explained our situation with Rex and admitted he couldn't afford the workshop, Cesar did something extraordinary. Not only did he invite Miguel to join the workshop free of charge, but upon hearing their full story, he offered to visit their home afterward to work with Rex personally. That Sunday afternoon changed everything, Martinez continued. Cesar spent hours with us, but he wasn't just training Rex. As he worked, he talked to Miguel about discipline, about channeling energy positively, about taking responsibility. I watched my angry, withdrawn son hanging on every word from this man who had come from nothing and built a life helping others. "'Cause I am the dog whisperer, right? I created the thing," he said. So that part was, I didn't feel bad. I didn't do anything dishonest, so that part of me was awesome. The most powerful moment came when Milan connected Miguel's behavior directly to Rex's aggression. "Your dog reflects your energy," he told the teenager. "When you're angry at the world, he feels he must protect you from the world. When you're balanced and calm, he can relax and be balanced too." As Rex's behavior improved under their newly learned techniques, Martinez witnessed a parallel transformation in her son. Miguel began getting up early to exercise Rex, following the structured routine Milan had established. He returned to school, his grades improved, and he gradually distanced himself from negative influences. Impressed by Miguel's dedication, Milan offered him a summer job at his dog psychology center. When he graduated high school, that opportunity changed Miguel's life trajectory completely. Today, 10 years later, Miguel runs a successful rehabilitation program for abandoned dogs, many of whom work with at-risk youth, kids just like he was. There are dozens of families in our community who have been touched by my son's work with dogs, work he never would have discovered without Cesar Milan's intervention. Martinez testified that the ripple effect of positive change is the true measure of this man's impact. He doesn't just rehabilitate dogs, he rehabilitates people too. Perhaps the most remarkable testimony came near the end of the trial when the defense called Martha Winters, the 72-year-old grandmother from rural Tennessee, who traveled across the country despite her health challenges to share a story that had never been made public before. "I live alone in a small cabin on 20 acres in the Smoky Mountains," she began. "After my husband passed, my children wanted me to move to the city, but I couldn't leave our land. My only companions were my 3 rescue dogs, Bella, Max, and Cooper. In February 2019, Winters was watching a marathon of Cesar Milan shows during a snowstorm when her power went out. With nightfall approaching and temperatures dropping dangerously low, she realized her generator wasn't working. Through the heavily falling snow, she spotted a car that had slid off the road on her long rural driveway. What Winters didn't know was that inside the car was Cesar Milan himself, who had been in the area for a speaking engagement and had taken a wrong turn in the snowstorm. After struggling through the snow to help Winters, Milan recognized the signs of hypothermia beginning to affect her and immediately took charge of the situation. With temperatures dropping dangerously, and with no power or communications, he made the critical decision to move them to the barn where they could build a fire. What followed was what Winters describes as a masterclass in crisis management. Milan gathered supplies, created a sheltered area with hay bales, and started a fire despite difficult conditions. Throughout the night, as temperatures dropped to dangerous levels, he kept the fire going and positioned the dogs around Winters to provide warmth. "He talked to me all night," Winters recalled, wiping tears. "He told me stories about his childhood in Mexico, about crossing the border with nothing, about his dreams and disappointments. I think he was keeping me awake on purpose, knowing that with hypothermia, sleep can be dangerous." When dawn broke, Milan ventured out and, after nearly 2 hours, managed to reach a point where he could get cell service to call for help. Emergency services arrived shortly after, with paramedics immediately concerned about Winters' condition. The paramedic told me later that without the heat from the dogs and that small fire, I wouldn't have survived the night. She said, "Many younger, stronger people have died in less severe conditions, but Carr refused to accept any credit. He simply said he had learned survival skills as a child in Mexico and that the real heroes were the dogs." What made this story even more remarkable was that Milan had never publicly mentioned this incident. It came to light only when Winter's daughter recognized him on the news coverage of the trial and contacted his legal team. When they asked him about it, he didn't even remember my name, Winter said with a gentle smile. He just said, "The lady with the 3 beautiful dogs." That's the measure of the man. He didn't view what he did as extraordinary or worthy of publicity. He simply did what needed to be done to keep a stranger and her dogs alive. Despite such moving testimonies from dozens of similar witnesses, the jury ultimately delivered a guilty verdict on the most serious charges. When Judge Raymond Morris announced the life sentence, audible gasps filled the courtroom. Milan, who had maintained his composure throughout most of the trial, finally broke down. Witnesses describe how the normally poised dog behaviorist seemed to physically crumple at the judge's words. "I've only ever wanted to help," Milan said through tears during his final statement. "To create balance, to save dogs others had given up on, to teach people that with patience and proper leadership, relationships can heal. If I have failed or made mistakes along the way, I accept responsibility for those specific actions, but my heart has always been in the right place." As security personnel prepared to lead him away, Milan made an emotional plea directly to his supporters. "Please take care of the dogs," he said. "Dog in America, the food comes to him, so the dog doesn't have to work for food, right? So the dog gets praised by everything. Don't abandon the principles of calm, assertive energy. Balance is still the key for dogs and for life. This work must continue, even if I cannot be the one to lead it." Many in the courtroom, including several jury members, were openly weeping as Milan was escorted out. Outside the courthouse, hundreds of supporters had gathered with their dogs, many holding signs reading, "Who will help the helpless dogs now?" and "Cesar saved my family." The sentence has hit particularly hard among mothers and grandmothers who found in Milan not just a dog trainer, but a source of wisdom about patience, consistency, and leadership that applied to their entire families. "Cesar didn't just teach me about dogs," explains Patricia Williams, 67, a grandmother of 5 who credits Milan with transforming her reactive rescue dog into a gentle companion. "He taught me about setting boundaries with love, about staying calm in crisis, about how energy affects everyone around us. I applied his principles with my grandchildren, and it made me a better grandmother." Williams is one of thousands of supporters who have already written letters to Milan in prison that contributed to his legal defense fund for the appeal process. "He gave so many of us hope when we were ready to give up on our troubled dogs. We're not giving up on him now." Elizabeth Morgan, 59, traveled from Seattle to attend the sentencing. Her service dog, a formerly aggressive German Shepherd rehabilitated through Milan's methods, remained calmly by her side throughout the emotional proceedings. "Before Max came into my life, I was housebound with PTSD," Morgan explains, gently stroking her dog's head. "He was scheduled to be euthanized for aggression when a trainer using Cesar's methods gave him one last chance. Now he alerts me before panic attacks, helps me navigate public spaces, and has given me my life back. There are thousands of dogs like Max and thousands of people like me who owe their second chances to Cesar's work." Despite the devastating sentence, Milan's legal team remains cautiously optimistic about the appeal process. They point to several procedural issues during the trial that they believe provide strong grounds for challenging both the conviction and the severity of the sentence. A life sentence for nonviolent charges related to training methodologies is unprecedented and disproportionate, stated lead attorney Rebecca Martinez. "We believe strongly in Mr. Milan's innocence, particularly regarding the most serious charges, and are confident that the appeals court will recognize the significant legal issues with how this case was prosecuted." In a moving letter shared by his family, Milan expressed gratitude to his supporters and a continued commitment to his life's mission, even from behind bars. "My body may be confined, but my spirit remains dedicated to creating balance and harmony between humans and dogs. Each day, I receive hundreds of letters describing lives changed and dogs saved because of principles I was blessed to share. These stories sustain me. Please continue this mission of rehabilitation and second chances." Our work together has always been about more than training dogs. It has been about opening hearts, minds, and homes to animals who need us. That work must continue, with or without me. For the millions of dog owners whose lives were changed by Cesar Milan's compassionate approach, that work will indeed continue alongside a determined effort to secure justice for the man who taught them to be calm and assertive even in life's most challenging moments. If you've been touched by Cesar Milan's work, now is the time to stand up and be counted. Visit standwithcaesar.org to learn how you can help support his appeal, or simply share your story on social media with the hashtag #StandWithCaesar. Together, we can show the world the true impact of this extraordinary man's life work and hopefully bring him home, where he belongs, helping troubled dogs and the families who love them. The tragic trial and subsequent life sentence of Cesar Milan, the world-renowned dog whisperer, has left many in shock and disbelief. Throughout his career, Milan was celebrated for his extraordinary ability to rehabilitate dogs and help families transform their relationships with their pets. For over 2 decades, his methods, based on the principles of patience, calm assertiveness, and leadership, have reached millions, restoring hope in the hearts of dog owners and bringing peace to troubled homes. Yet, despite this remarkable legacy, the man whose life's work revolved around compassion and rehabilitation now finds himself facing the ultimate punishment. At the heart of the trial were allegations that Milan's methods had led to the deaths of several dogs under his care, charges which ultimately resulted in his life sentence. The prosecution painted a damning picture, accusing him of financial mismanagement, animal cruelty, and even exploiting his fame for personal gain. However, as the testimonies of those who knew Milan firsthand unfolded, the complexity of the case began to reveal itself. Individuals from all walks of life shared deeply moving stories about how Cesar had helped them, whether by saving their dogs, restoring their families, or providing support during moments of crisis. From the teacher whose family was saved from a potentially fatal carbon monoxide leak to the traumatized teenager who found redemption through his work with dogs, the impact of Milan's methods extended far beyond animal behavior. His ability to recognize and address not just the behavioral issues in dogs, but also the underlying emotional and psychological struggles in humans was unparalleled. For many, Milan was more than just a dog trainer. He was a mentor, a source of wisdom, and a lifeline during times of personal despair. The testimonies from those who had witnessed his kindness, his dedication, and his unwavering belief in second chances made it clear that the man who had once been known as the dog whisperer had touched countless lives in ways that went far beyond the world of animals. While the prosecution focused on the alleged missteps in Milan's professional methods, the defense highlighted the profound, positive changes he had fostered in the lives of so many. His approach, though sometimes misunderstood, was rooted in a philosophy of balance and respect for both dogs and their human counterparts. Milan's compassionate approach to rehabilitation, which often involved working with the most challenging and traumatized dogs, was a testament to his commitment to helping those who others had given up on. His dedication to giving both animals and people second chances has been the cornerstone of his work, inspiring others to act with patience, empathy, and understanding. Yet, as the verdict was delivered, the room was filled with a heavy sense of sorrow and confusion. Cesar Milan, the man who had spent his life helping others, was now facing the crushing reality of spending the rest of his life behind bars. The response from his supporters was immediate and loud, as many rallied together to continue his mission of rehabilitation and healing. For them, Cesar's sentencing felt not just like a personal loss, but the loss of an entire movement, a movement built on hope, compassion, and the belief that through understanding and patience, all beings, human and animal alike, can be rehabilitated. As the legal process continues and Milan's team prepares for an appeal, the overwhelming outpouring of support from his fans and followers is a testament to the profound impact he has had on the world. His message, one of calm assertiveness and balance, has left an indelible mark on countless lives. Whether or not justice will ultimately be served in his case, Cesar Milan's legacy will undoubtedly continue to inspire those who believe in second chances and the power of love and patience to heal both humans and dogs alike. In the end, the story of Cesar Milan is not just about the man who trained dogs, but the man who helped rebuild lives, foster understanding, and spread a message of hope. It's a reminder that true leadership is not about being perfect. It's about being real, offering compassion, and standing up for what you believe in no matter the cost.